Alright, here's a small update. Now I got the ugly duckling. It's just in there with 4 screws for right now. I have 2 little bumps in the road, and one has to do with water. Unfortunately, I let the box set right here in my garage. It needs cleaned, but you know, when you cut MDF, it goes everywhere. And unfortunately, there is a water trickle. The neighbors put a stone down in the driveway and it lifted their ground level up, so it runs off of that and it goes right into my garage now. And you can see by that, where there's no sawdust, is where this was sitting. MDF's biggest enemy is water, any kind of water. And now look at it, there's a little ridge, and it even softened up the glue in there. That's a liquid nail. So now I got a little ridge there. Hopefully it'll shrink back up, but it's roughly, I'd have to say 1/16 inch thicker on some spots. Now this happened just today. You can see the watermark right there. It didn't seep the whole way through. There's no watermarks in here, but it did get enough to where it hit this part and it lifted both sides. And when I left a couple days ago, this thing was perfect. And that's the one issue. Not too big. Once it dries out, it'll be okay. There's going to be enough strength in this box that's not even going to be an issue, even if it was wet whenever I started playing it. But another issue is when I went to put the subwoofers in, I pre-drilled a little bit. I can't find the little bit that I was using, but I set it in there perfect. You know, I line everything up, make sure everything was perfect. That way they're sitting perfect. And when I drilled in, now these subs can't move when they're in here. They're pretty tight. You might have a little bit of play, but not much. And what I found out is the screw hole is a little too close to this. And with MDF, the thinner you use, the weaker it gets. So I'm kind of screwed on using nuts and bolts. These are what I was going to use, and if I screwed it out, it would leave me roughly 1/8 of an inch between this, and I didn't want to weaken it that much. You see how weak that would potentially be. It would be not beneficial. So doing away with that, and I'm just going to the old drywall screws. Of course not them, they're too small. I got 2-inchers. They've never failed me before. I've used them a million times. These are not 100-pound subwoofers. They're I think 22-pound, and even with this old thing here, they never moved, and I was only using inchers on that one. These are bulletproof for these kind of subwoofers. They're not some 100-pound subwoofer that it's gonna, you hit the brakes or something like that, you step on the gas and the subwoofer's gonna rip out. I mean, you're talking 1.5 inches thick here, and if these sons of bitches, if they pull out, I was in an accident. Never ever had a problem using drywall screws to hold subwoofers in. Now, these are aluminum baskets. They are not stamped steel. Never use these things with stamped steel. And I'll show you why. See how that pivots right there? Got a long fingernail. I know I got to cut them. Got that bad habits of not cutting. Just work too many hours. But that will actually ripple and bend your stamped steel. And it'll cause the cone actually to malfunction inside the subwoofer, and when you do that, and you warp that metal, this cone can actually turn and you can get scraping. So you never ever do that. Never use wood screws for stamped steel. And you can get away with it if you have old subs, you just don't give a shit. But no, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. Now, how thick this basket is on these subs, they're really thick. It's really thick cast aluminum, and it won't do anything like that. So yeah, that's what I'm gonna have to resort to. Didn't want to, I wanted to bolt it, but as you see, it's gonna be more beneficial just to use wood screws, just because they're a little bit thinner. And that's only held in there by 4, and they're only inchers just to hold it in there. That's not even a 2-inch one, and it ain't gonna move. All that dust on it, all this rubbing, that's a shame. Yeah. The coil on it is amazing, and I can't find these subs anywhere, and I found this one actually local. You see rubbing here, so they must have had it in their trunk and it must have slid back too far or something, and it just rubbed the hell out of it. But the spider on it's really nice. It's definitely been, moving compared to my other two. They're a lot stiffer, but then again, they only have 10 hours of play at the most, and they weren't even, I never really gave them their full potential. And of course this one's a little bit more mushier, but that's because it had more play time. It doesn't mean that it's ruined. The coil and everything like that, I tested it, and the subwoofer works really good. I can recone them if I want. I plan on once I blow them, I'm going to definitely upgrade the coils and stuff in it, and the whole cone and everything. Possibly send them out to get them remagnetized a little bit stronger. Possibly end up with maybe a 1,000-watt RMS sub, a true 1,000-watt, not a K9 1,000-watt. But yeah, that's so far what I've got. The rest of the box is phenomenal. Oh yeah, and I did put this thing in here, the baffle, and it is in there. It's not bolted down or anything. It is just slid in there real nice. Had to use a little hammer to tap, 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 tap. Got to be careful with these edges whenever you go to tap it in, because this will lift up like laminate, and it'll pull out even on regular wood, pine, whatever you use, birch, oak. It'll pull this out because that's where it's going to stick the most, especially if you run a bead of caulk. And you see, I even took a razor blade and cleaned that all out. You can barely see anything under there. It'll grab everything depending on how good your cuts are. If your cuts are like right on precise, it'll grab anything. And this thing was it's a pig to get in there, but that's the way I want it. I wanted it nice and tight and perfect and precise, and that's the way I like to build my boxes. As you see, this side didn't get wet, and there's no ridge, nothing there. The other side, yeah, mushroomed out a little bit. So hopefully it'll go down. If not, I'll just sand it a little bit. But that is where I'm at so far with it. It's going 7 inches, so this is 7 by 38.5 by 15.5. And with all 3 of these subs, it's 2.25 cubic foot is what I'm looking for. This will give me like a 2.54. Calm down. These things can go up to 1 to 0.75 per subwoofer. I'm running 3, so I can go anywhere from 2.25 to 3. But I'm trying to stay optimal, so I'm going to go in the middle. Not only that, but once I put the face on it, I'm going to run a brace from here and here, and it's going to come out to right here on the very front. That way everything is nice and sturdy and it doesn't flex, because this is a lot of area. This is 17 by 40, and if I don't put any bracing on there, it'll flex probably a 1/4 of an inch like my old box did. And that old box, it might look like hell, but it was bulletproof. So that's where I'm at right now, just to give you an idea. And yeah,